The deceptive assignment cadet Marcus Chin floated through the airlock of the Serenity's edge, his magnetic boots clanking against the metal deck as artificial gravity kicked in. Behind him, 4 other cadets from the Terran Naval Academy followed. Zara Okafor, the brilliant engineer. Twins Dmitri and Katya Volkov, communications and tactical specialists respectively. And Nolan Cross, their squad leader and pilot. "Smells like antiseptic in here," Zara muttered, adjusting her scanner. Weird. For an abandoned ship. Their briefing had been straightforward. The Serenity's Edge was a derelict alien science vessel discovered 3 months ago, drifting near Kepler 442b's dead moon. Initial scans showed no life signs, no active systems, just valuable salvageable technology. Their job was routine sanitize, catalog, and prepare for recovery teams. But Marcus felt his skin crawl the moment they entered. The corridors were pristine, almost sterile. No dust, no decay, no signs of abandonment. The walls hummed with a subtle energy that made his teeth ache. "Squad report," Nolan's voice crackled through their coms. "Hull integrity is perfect," Dmitri announced, consulting his tablet. "Too perfect. This ship should show micrometeor. Damage, radiation scoring, something." Katya nodded, her eyes scanning the perfectly maintained lighting panels. "Environmental systems are running at optimal efficiency. How does a dead ship maintain itself?" They moved deeper into the vessel, their footsteps echoing in the unnaturally quiet corridors. Marcus noticed the lights seemed to brighten just before. They entered each section, as if anticipating their arrival. "Guys," Zara whispered, stopping at a junction. "My scanner is picking up active power signatures throughout the ship. This isn't derelict, it's fully operational." The squad exchanged worried glances. Their mission parameters were wrong, dangerously. "Wrong. Contact command," Nolan ordered Dmitri. "We need immediate extraction." Dmitri's face paled as he worked his communications array. "I'm getting nothing. Complete signal blackout. Our beacon isn't even transmitting." A soft chime echoed through the corridor, followed by a melodic tone that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The lights flickered in a rhythmic pattern. "That's not random," Katya observed, her tactical training kicking in. "It's structured. Almost like ... communication." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine as he realized they weren't alone. Something was watching them, analyzing them, testing them. The pristine condition of the ship, the convenient power sources, the communication blackout, none of it was accidental. "Change of plans," Nolan announced grimly. "We're not here to salvage, we're here to survive." As if responding to his words, the lights dimmed to an ominous red, and somewhere in the distance, they heard the unmistakable sound of an airlock sealing shut. The vanishing, the red emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as the 5 cadets huddled in what appeared to be the ship's central hub. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing incomprehensible alien symbols that shifted and morphed like living things. "Environmental controls are responding to something," Zara reported, her scanner beeping frantically. "Atmospheric. Pressure is stable, but there's an energy field building throughout the ship." Marcus watched the symbols dance across the displays, feeling a strange familiarity in their patterns. "These aren't just random. They're reactive. Watch." He stepped closer to one display, and the symbols immediately rearranged themselves, forming new configurations. "It's observing us," Katya realized, her hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. "Every move we make, it's cataloging." Nolan was trying to access the ship's navigation systems when Dmitri's voice echoed from the adjacent corridor. "Found something. There's a chamber here with what looks like specimen containers." His words cut off abruptly. The squad rushed to the corridor, finding it empty except for Dmitri's scanner lying on the floor, still beeping. No signs of struggle, No trace of where he'd gone. Dmitri! Katya screamed, her voice breaking. Dmitri! The ship seemed to swallow her cries, the sound dampening unnaturally quickly. Impossible, Nolan breathed. People don't just vanish. But Marcus was studying the walls more carefully. The smooth surfaces weren't just metal. They were embedded with countless microfilaments that pulsed with soft light. The ship itself is alive, he whispered. Or at least it's integrated with something that is. Zara's scanner suddenly went wild, detecting massive energy spikes throughout the vessel. We're being scanned, not just passively actively probed. Whatever this is, it's studying our biology, our psychology, our responses. The lights flickered again, and the melodic tones returned, more complex now. Almost like ... conversation. It's trying to communicate, Marcus realized. The disappearance, the environmental changes, the reactive displays, it's all part of some kind of protocol. Protocol for what? Katya demanded, tears streaming down her face. Before anyone could answer, the floor beneath them began to shift. The corridor walls started moving, rearranging themselves like a massive three-dimensional puzzle. A squad found themselves separated, each in a different section of the ship. Stay calm. Nolan's voice crackled through the combs. Whatever this is, it wants us alive. Otherwise, why the elaborate setup? Marcus found himself in a circular chamber filled with floating geometric shapes that responded to his presence. As he moved, the shapes followed, creating intricate patterns that seemed almost ... playful. This isn't a derelict, he said into his communicator. This is a test, an ancient test. And we're the subjects. The geometric shapes suddenly froze and began pulsing in unison. Somewhere in the ship's depths, a new sound emerged, not mechanical, but organic. Like breathing, something vast and old was awakening. The watchers revealed themselves. The breathing sound grew louder, more rhythmic, until Marcus realized it wasn't coming from the ship itself. It was the ship. The entire vessel was a living entity, or at least something so advanced it had merged with biological systems eons ago. Through his communicator, he heard Zara's excited voice. The energy readings are off the charts. This isn't just technology. It's a hybrid of organic and artificial intelligence. We're inside something that's been waiting, watching, learning. Learning what? Nolan's voice was strained. Marcus touched one of the floating geometric shapes, and suddenly his mind was flooded with images. Ancient civilizations, countless species, all facing the same test. Some succeeded, gaining access to incredible knowledge. Others failed, their memories erased, their existence forgotten. We're not the first, he gasped. Hundreds of species have been through this. It's a trial, a test of worthiness. The chamber walls became transparent, revealing the others trapped in their own testing environments. Katya was in a maze that shifted with her emotional state. Nolan faced holographic enemies that required tactical thinking rather than brute force. Zara stood before a massive mechanical puzzle that demanded both engineering skill and intuitive leaps. But where was Dmitri? As if reading his thoughts, the ship showed him. Dmitri wasn't gone. He was in the deepest part of the vessel, connected to the ship's consciousness through neural interfaces. His eyes were closed, but he was alive. His mind merged with the ancient intelligence. He's the control, Marcus realized. The ship needed one of us to serve as a baseline, to understand human consciousness. The geometric shapes around him began forming new patterns, star maps, technological schematics, the history of the cosmos. The ship was showing him what humanity could gain if they passed the test, but it was also showing him what they would lose if they failed. Through the transparent walls, he watched his friends struggling with their individual challenges. Katya was breaking down, her tactical mind overwhelmed by the emotional component of her maze. Nolan was fighting ghosts, trying to use military strategy against enemies that required understanding, not destruction. "Listen to me," Marcus shouted into his communicator. "This isn't about winning or losing. It's about proving we're ready for what comes next." The ship's breathing quickened, and suddenly Marcus understood. The test wasn't about individual skills, it was about collective. Human nature. Their ability to work together, to overcome instinct with intelligence, to choose unity over survival. "Zara, your puzzle is not meant to be solved alone. Nolan, your enemies aren't enemies, they're teachers. Katya, your maze responds to emotion because it's testing empathy, not tactics." The ship shuddered, and for a moment Marcus felt the vast intelligence behind it all. Ancient, patient, and desperately hoping that humanity would prove worthy of the knowledge it guarded. Because if they failed, humanity would be deemed too primitive, too dangerous. And like the civilizations before them, they would be erased from existence. Human instinct unleashed. The ship's breathing became erratic as the ancient intelligence processed the cadets' responses. Marcus felt the geometric shapes around him pulse. With increasing urgency, time was running out. "Everyone, stop fighting the tests," he commanded. "We need to work together." But the ship seemed to anticipate this strategy. The walls separating them began to thicken, and their communications grew weaker. The intelligence was forcing them to rely on their deepest human instincts. In her maze, Katya suddenly stopped trying to solve it logically. Instead, she closed her eyes and let her emotions guide her. The walls responded, shifting to create a path not through clever navigation, but through genuine human compassion for her lost brother. Nolan faced his holographic enemies and did something unprecedented. He laid down his weapons. "I surrender," he said simply. The holograms paused, then slowly approached. As they touched him, he realized they weren't enemies at all, but representations of the alien species that had failed the test. They were teaching him about sacrifice, about the courage to choose peace over victory. Zara's mechanical puzzle clicked suddenly as she stopped trying to force the pieces together and instead listened to the ship's rhythm. The machinery wasn't meant to be conquered, it was meant to be understood, to be partnered with. Marcus felt the ship's consciousness probe deeper into his mind, searching for something specific. It wasn't looking for intelligence or skill, it was looking for the indefinable quality that made humanity unique. Suddenly, he understood. The test wasn't about proving humanity's superiority. It was about proving their capacity for growth, for choosing cooperation over competition, for seeing beyond their own survival. The ship shuddered violently, and Marcus realized they were approaching the moment of final judgment. Through the neural link, he could sense Dimitri's consciousness merged with the ancient intelligence, serving as a bridge between human and alien understanding. "We're not here to conquer," Marcus said aloud, knowing the ship was listening. "We're here to learn, to grow, to become something better than we were." The geometric shapes around him began to sing a haunting melody that seemed to come from the depths of space itself. It was the song of the ancient race that had built this test, their final gift to the universe. The walls suddenly became transparent again, and the cadets could see each other. They were no longer separated by the ship's design, but they were still trapped within their individual challenges. "Trust each other," Marcus called out. "Trust what makes us human." Without hesitation, Katya abandoned her maze and ran to the wall separating her from Nolan. She placed her hand against the barrier, and incredibly, it began to dissolve. Nolan abandoned his lesson and joined her. Then Zara left her puzzle to complete their circle. The ship's breathing stopped entirely. In the silence that followed, Marcus felt the ancient intelligence weighing their choice. They had abandoned their individual tests choosing unity over personal achievement. It was the most human thing they could have done, and in that moment, he knew they had passed. The legacy of the Watchers, the ship's lights shifted from red to a warm golden hue as the ancient intelligence made its decision. The walls that had separated the cadets dissolved completely, and they found themselves standing together in a vast chamber that hadn't existed moments before. Dmitri stood at the center, his eyes open but glowing with an otherworldly light. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of eons. "The Watchers have observed humanity for 300 years, he said, his words echoing strangely. They have seen your wars, your creativity, your capacity for both destruction and incredible compassion. Today, you proved what they hoped to find." The chamber filled with holographic displays showing the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Some had passed the test, gaining access to technologies that elevated them to cosmic significance. Others had failed, their memories erased, their potential deemed too dangerous for the universe. What made us different? Zara asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dmitri smiled, and for a moment, he was just their friend again. You chose each other. Every species that came before focused on individual achievement, on proving their superiority. You chose connection over competition. The ancient intelligence spoke through the ship itself, its voice a harmony of 1,000 dead races. Humanity possesses something rare, the ability to transcend biological imperatives through conscious choice. You could have completed the tests individually, but you chose unity. This is the mark of a species ready for the greater cosmos. The chamber transformed, revealing vast libraries of knowledge, the accumulated wisdom of civilizations that had passed the test. Technologies that could heal dying worlds, sciences that could bridge the gaps between species, philosophies that could guide humanity's growth among the stars. But there's a price, Dmitri continued, his expression growing serious. You cannot simply take this knowledge. You must earn it, piece by piece, proving again and again that humanity will use it wisely. Marcus stepped forward, feeling the weight of responsibility. What about you? What happens to you? I remain, Dmitri said simply, as a bridge between human and Watcher consciousness. I'll guide humanity's learning, ensuring you don't advance too quickly or in dangerous directions. The ship began to change. Around them, transforming from a test chamber into something new, a school, a library, a beacon for humanity's future. The Watchers had waited eons for a species like humanity, one that could balance individual brilliance with collective wisdom. When you return to Earth, the ancient intelligence intoned, you will carry with you the first gift, the knowledge of your own potential. Humanity will face greater challenges as it grows, but you have proven you can choose growth over destruction. As the golden light intensified, Marcus felt a profound sense of completion. They had been tested not by their strength or intelligence, but by their humanity itself. And in choosing to remain human, to value connection over conquest, they had opened the door to a future among the stars. The ship began its journey back to human space, carrying its precious cargo of knowledge and its new human guardian. Behind them, the dead moon began to glow, awakening other tests for other species. Yet to come, humanity had passed its first trial. The real adventure was just beginning. The end.